Hi, my name is Sarah, also known as Artsy Dora on Instagram. So today I'm presenting this new project I did, which is a series of 3 images. The project is called Well Up for Decay. This is just the process of how I ended up creating my image and stylizing it in Houdini's new cups. So I hope you like it. My original inspiration for this project was Disfic. It's really, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but this is really an artist I admire on Instagram, lots of cool projects. I was especially inspired by this project, so shout out to Disfic. I really love your work. So how did we go from this to this? All right, so we're gonna start off with our plate right here. So I had a beauty pass, I had an AO, I had the albedo, I had a couple lights like these. After that, I had an emission pass. I also had crypto materials and crypto objects. I ended up using both of them, but either or were both very functional. I just found that some were denoised better than others, so I combined both to make my masks, but it's really up to you. Both work great. So rendered out a depth. I rendered out the end facing, the position, and I had rendered out an extra normal in another file because I had forgotten it on this one to have a more stylized comp with like brush strokes and stuff like that. But wasn't really what I really liking the result. Didn't end up going in that direction, but I still tried it out. And also had an SSS pass. Lights. Originally, I was processing the entire image as a whole, but I had a lot less control artistically doing that, so I ended up processing each light individually and then re-adding them together. So if we start here, we get in black and white our image. So then we remap it to have less tones of black and white in the image. So we're reducing the number of tones. So here, there's a great tutorial on this step right here on Houdini. It's the slap comp videos. So in those videos, you'll see that to do this, they have like a gradual staircase going up of like the values, little packs of twos. I did that originally and then I changed it to have different values coming through because I didn't want exactly what I had in my render. So if you see here, if I were to modify the ramp, look at what it's doing. And if I did this here, there you go. You can see I'm getting different tones through the image. Let me denose real quick. And then here, right down here, we do the same thing with the color. So here we put it in divide with our color in black and white, and then we quantize it. This is essentially the same thing as the remap. You're getting less colors in this case because we're isolating the colors. It's just that you have a lot less control on what you're doing. It's more automatic. So if I were to change this, you can see what it does. The black here doesn't bother us just because it doesn't matter in my picture, it's dark in this case. And then we multiply them back together and we already have something significantly different. After that, I use the Kuara filter. So I'm just going to zoom in here. If we go back and forth, you see what it's doing. The Kuara filter, it does like a little blur and a bit of a painty effect. So if I were to change this or this, like this, even if I change the blur, you see what it's doing. It's stylizing the image a bit with this filter. It's really useful in my case. On with the edge detect. So here we have the edge detect. I'm just outlining the edges I have. So if I go here, you can see I can get less and more detail. So I get the edge detect and then I blend it in minimum with my last output right here. So then I have the color shining through the edges that I have. And then we blend it back together in an add. You can see here I am masking with the head in the water. So here's my mask that I did with my crypto materials and crypto objects. This is just so I can only work on the face. I didn't want the water, so there you go. Just to show you another light and why we are masking this way. So we have our light and then we remap it. You can see this one is a bit different. I could change the values again at different places. Denoise, color, and quantize. There you go. And then we multiply that. Here are a few changes. And then the edge detect again. If you see here the edge detect, it's become really, really busy, really murky, as you can see. And then when we blend it back together, it was already pretty smooth in the back. I didn't want it, so we are just getting the face by masking the water. So the face and the plant, and there you go. So then we go back down here at the bottom. We are merging all our lights together. So I start with a little rim that was on the water that I added a little glow on top of it in add. Then in maximum, I wanted this light to shine a bit less. So that's why I blended it that way. And then we screen because I wanted this one to pop a bit more and add on top the more general light and add on top this last light just to give little pops and highlights. Next up, I wanted little ripples in the water because I feel like she was really separated from the water. We didn't feel like the two were connecting as much as I wanted. So I started out with a SDF shape, which I then distorted with a fractal noise. Distorted it again with the face so it'd get the curve of the face a bit more when I was going to place it. Then we convert it to mono. We blur it. I transformed it looking at my plate so it'd be placed in the right area. And then I added a ramp to give it a little bluish hue. So here we go in our image. You can see it right here. And I did a second one the same way, just changing the noise a bit. All right, I wanted even more edges on the face. I still wasn't getting enough, especially around the eye, to my liking. So I did the same thing with my albedo. I did the edge detect. I blended it for the color with one of the layers with my lights. Just this one, I preferred the look of it. And then I brightened everything to get more detail. Aberration. And there you go. I don't know if you can see. And there you go. Now for color in the water. You can see here it was getting very dark in my water. So I wanted to add a bit more color, a bit more green to match with the plant here. So I did a fractal noise based on the size ref this time. And I subtracted from another noise. Then I blended all that with the depth, which I equalized, and added nice blue tones and turquoise tones. And we blend it here. And for this, I only wanted the water, so my whole mask is just the water. And I added the depth in my mask just so I wouldn't get it above, because if it was going all the way above, it was way too much. So just mostly the water in front in the foreground here. So if you see what we had before, this, and then adding nice turquoise values in there. Now for the glow of the flowers. I felt like the flowers weren't popping enough. We were losing them. So I decided to give them a little glow. So I took my beauty pass. I added glow everywhere. I added a second glow with a tint. As you can see, they don't have exactly the same threshold. There you go. And then I blended it. So we only affected the flowers, not the entire image. Back with the chromatic aberration that's everywhere because I put them just everywhere instead of putting it at the very end. I found it better to have it at the end of every step. It gave a better look, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. It just worked for me. And then here I blended it. I didn't put it 100%. It was a bit too much. So not completely adding it with the same mask of the I made here with the erode to have them pop. Now for the glow emission beads. So I had an emission pass here, and these little beads in the water that were glowing, I was really losing them, and I wanted to bring them back. So I put them here. I streaked them. So like that, it was like mission coming out of them because I really wanted to add more magic into my image. Transform them because it moved them a bit. So we put them back in the right place. Made them a bit thicker with the erode node. Then I distorted them with a fractal noise. And I had a gradient put on that because I wanted them to be more distorted at the top than at the bottom. So if I zoom here, you can see what it does. And then we made those glow, so it's making it really rich, really pretty. I also did an edge detect on top of there, as you can see. So right now, we just have the glowy streaks like this. Then I add edge detect, and I re-added on top of that the actual beads, so we didn't lose them in the image and still understood what was going on. Next up, I re-added my SSS and add, so I have a nice pop of glow back in the picture. And the AO, because I was losing a lot of the detail here if you look before. So it's giving me back the richness I originally had. However, my mask was a bit different here because if I was just doing the whole face, I was losing a lot of the left side right here. It was just making it really dark for no reason. It's not detail we needed, so I just masked it a little bit more so we had less going on over there. I wanted to keep making the image a bit more magical, so we added a sort of magic bubble detail in the background. So I had this whirly noise at first, then I distorted it with a fractal noise to give like a little bubble-ish pattern going on, contrasted it just a tad, inverted it just because I realized afterwards it looked better, blurred it so it wasn't so sharp, then blended it with a constant, and my mask was my depth. Then I added the bokeh. Right here you don't really see the effect, but when you see it here, right, you see without it was a bit too crisp, and like with adding it I was matching the existing bokeh I already had. So it was just adding a bit more to my image and I really liked it. After that, I had color corrections, and I found the face a bit dark, so I brightened the face as well. So here you go, a few corrections. And the last thing I did was I just added a little vignette that was dark blue to make everything pop just a bit more, like this. And there you have it. A big thank you to Moeen Syed, who does great videos for Houdini. Also wanted to say a second thank you to my friend Sarah Jolie, who did the modeling of the little plant there. You can go check her out on ArtStation. A big thank you to everyone if you made it to the end. If you have any questions or tips or any advice, I'd love to hear everything down in the comments below.